Hello, I want to talk about statistics and KPIs in this video. Statistics, I'm talking about simplified form of statistics, which is basically numbers that are tracked from one period of time to another. And KPI stands for Key Performance Indicators. So let me give you a couple of examples. Have you ever driven a car that didn't have any gauges in it? You didn't know how fast you were going or how much gas you had in the tank. Most likely you either didn't get to your destination or it was fairly difficult to do that. So that's number one. Another severe example would be, have you ever flown or been on a plane that didn't have any gauges in it? So the pilot didn't know how fast the plane was going or how high in the sky it was or how close to the ground it was. Most likely, God forbid, it would crash. Same thing with your practice. If you don't have those indicators, if you don't have those statistics, you're really flying blind. You don't know how you're doing. You don't know what needs to be done to rectify any kind of situation. You don't know what to do to keep things going well if they are, and so on. You just don't know what's going on. So that's where statistics come into play. Now, I would recommend that you assign a statistic or a KPI or a number for basically every position in the practice. One that should be assigned to everybody would be what we call OBC or outbound communication. So, as we know, the more we communicate to the outside, the better communication back that happens to us, the more we attract hopefully positive attention and so on. So it's a great idea for us to assign that statistics to everybody and to keep track of it. I would recommend that we keep track of it on a weekly basis. So we look at the statistic and we plot it on a graph that gives us a pictorial, gives us a picture of how that KPI or statistic is doing. Is the line of the graph going up? That's awesome. Is the line of the graph going down? That's bad. But what's more important is based on what the graph is doing, we determine what kind of action or what kind of plan we have to devise to either rectify the situation or to keep it going in the right direction. So let me give you some more details in regards to what I'm talking about. Um, So the whole idea behind statistics and KPIs is to really manage with confidence. So KPI stands for Key Performance Indicators, and you need to know those. So those are basically numbers that you need to know to help you in managing your operation. You want to avoid managing your operation by and making decisions based on gut feelings or uh, rumors and so on and so forth. Numbers never lie. So you need to look at numbers in the form of statistics or in the form of KPIs to figure out what to do in order to manage your business. Uh, the first thing that you need to do is to assign KPIs and assign statistics to each position in the practice. Examples would be, for instance, for the dentists, you need to figure out what the production is. So that's one way they contribute to the organization. So that is a KPI, the dollar production. Another KPI would be what we call outbound communication. So we know that the more we communicate to the outside, the more communication back happens for us. So the more attention and hopefully positive attention that we attract, and that in itself will attract more business, more patients, more production, more collection, and so on. So that's another KPI that is assigned to every position in the practice, and that is how much outbound communication or OBC is actually being performed by each individual. Now, there are some KPIs, again, key performance indicators, that are equivalent to looking in the rear view mirror. They do not have any effect on what is going to happen in the future. And the most common backward looking KPI is the amount of collection. So, how much you collected this week does not affect what's going to happen in the future. However, it's very important to keep track of it because it's a part of the scoreboard. That number gives you a pretty good indication about how well you ran your practice, what you did right, what you did wrong, how much your patients appreciated what you did, accepted your treatment recommendations, went ahead and got it performed, and so on and so forth. So it's a fantastic KPI that gives you, in one number, it gives you a pretty good idea about how the practice is doing. However, like I said, it's a backward-looking KPI. It doesn't show you what's going to happen in the future. The other kind are instead of rear view mirror, is actually looking through the windshield to see where you're going and how the road ahead looks like. Examples of KPIs or statistics that are forward-looking and can help predict the future would be, for instance, the percentage of hygiene appointments kept. So this is a statistic that gives us an idea about how much of the available hygiene appointments has been filled. So the more hygiene in a general practice, the more hygiene we have, the more production potential we have. So the more patients we have in the hygiene schedule that actually show up and get the procedures done and have their cleanings done or periodontal treatment done, as well as exams and x-rays and so on, can be an indication about how much production we're going to do. So looking at that statistic, looking at that KPI is actually looking at the future. And we look to see is the graph going up or is it going down? And that gives us an idea about how well we're doing in that department. Another one would be the percentage of accepted treatment. So how much of the treatment that was presented has been actually accepted? And accepted means that at least partially it's been paid for and scheduled. A patient saying yes alone is not considered accepted. They have to schedule and they have to pay at least partially for that treatment. So again, that is a forward-looking KPI or statistics. And the higher the percentage of accepted treatment, the more production we will do in the future. So it gives us an idea about how we're heading in terms of our production and everything else that comes with it. And again, we look to see, is the graph going up or is the graph going down? And based on that, we make certain decisions. In terms of the time duration that we look at, it really doesn't. It can be anything. You can look at it on a daily basis. You can look at it on a weekly basis. You can look at it on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis, and so on and so forth. The duration that we find to be very effective is weekly. You look at your statistic week to week. And the reason why we would recommend that is because when you're looking at things on a weekly basis, you can actually, quote unquote, jump on it fairly quickly and do whatever needs to be done to either rectify something, to improve it, or to keep it going in the right direction. So again, weekly duration for statistics seems to be the most successful one. Now, when we look at the graph on a weekly basis, we really ask two questions. If the graph is going down, We ask the questions that we ask are, one, what should we have done that we didn't? Or what was done that shouldn't have been? So those two questions, the answer to those two questions determines what kind of what kind of plan we're going to devise to rectify the situation. So again, what should have been done that didn't, or what was actually done that shouldn't have. When when the graph of the statistic is going up, we ask the following questions. What was done and we do more of it, or what was eliminated and we keep that eliminated? So those two questions are always asked on a weekly basis based on whatever the graph is showing us. And from that, an action plan is devised to either rectify the situation or to keep it going in the right direction. Well, I hope that was helpful and clear. The whole idea behind behind statistics and KPIs, is to gain as much control over your practice. So again, you want to know how the practice is doing, and you want to know what kind of action plans that you need to implement in order to handle whatever is actually happening. So go ahead and do it. Create goals, assign numbers to different positions in the practice, and start plotting them so that you get a graph that you look at on a weekly basis so that you gain a better insight into what's going on in the practice, and you can actually confront and handle things as quickly as possible. So good luck, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.